Hi, it's Alan here from ABTS Training Services, London, England. In fact, it's hi, Alan from ABTS Training Services in Hong Kong. I'm here for a month doing some business. Okay, this is a request video, and I've been getting quite a few requests. Can you do something on how freight rates are calculated for air freight and sea freight? And I thought, okay, here we go, let's do that. So let's start off with sea freight. And let's start off with the easy one, a full container load. You contact the shipping line and you ask them for a freight rate for a 20-foot FCL, full container load, from port A to port B. They give it to you. They give you a lump sum. Okay. End of story. So that's quite easy. It's not rocket science there. Okay, so now we go into where you have to use the grey matter slightly. Same scenario, you contact the shipping line and you say, I'd like a LCL rate, less than a container load rate. And they will say to you, yes, certainly, it's $500 WM or $500 weight measure, and that's it. And you're thinking, I got to work this out myself. What is weight measure? So what they're saying in essence is it'll cost you $500 weight measure, weight being 1,000, excuse me, please, 1,000 kilos or 1 cubic meter. So weight measure, 1,000 kilos or 1 cubic meter, whichever is the greatest. You'll see it on the screen there. So now they will say, $500 WM, $500 for per 1,000 kilos or 1 cubic meter. So what you have to do, as the example shows you on screen, you have weight 2,000 kilos and you have a cubic 1.5 cubic meters. So the calculation, as you can see on your screen, is the weight 2,000 kilos divided by 1,000 kilos equals 2. Measure 1.5 cubic meters divided by 1 equals 1.5. So now you have two equations. You have 2 or 1.5. Well, of course, the shipping line will use the bigger of the two. So the equation is 2, which is the weight, multiplied by $500, $1,000. So the freight rate is $1,000. Now, if you follow it online on the way I've done it out with the calculations, it should be clear. It should be clear to you. So that is sea freight. It's either weight measure for LCL, which is per 1,000 kilos, or per 1 cubic meter, whichever is the greatest. And we've calculated on that the weight was the greatest and the fee was $1,000. Okay. Now we go on to air freight, and air freight is slightly different. If you look at the copy of the airway bill, you will see there's provision for 2 levels of weight. You have the gross weight. The first one is the gross weight, and the second one is chargeable weight. Gross weight, chargeable weight. Okay. Gross weight is the physical weight of the box or boxes. Gross weight. Chargeable weight is a formula. And the chargeable weight is the volumetric formula. And the volumetric formula is 6,000 cubic centimeters is the equivalent in weight to 1 kilo. Okay, volumetric. 6,000 cubic centimeters is the equivalent of 1 kilo in weight. So you have actual weight. That's when you put the box or boxes on a weighing scale, actual weight. But then you have possibly a volumetric weight for the same cargo. So when you're asking for a air freight quotation, never just say, I want an air freight quotation from airport A to airport B for 20 kilos or 80 kilos. No, it could volume out. So you would get the wrong quotation. And when the airline receives your cargo, they would charge you more because it volumes out. So let's see, how does it volume out? So let's go into the two examples I've given you on the screen. Now, the first one is the gross weight, as you can see there, is 392 kilos. That's the real weight you put when you put it on a weighing machine, weighing scales, that's it. But the dimensions are 207 by 109 by 107 centimeters. Okay? Now, you cube that up, multiply 207 by 109 by 107 centimeters, and you get 402.37. Okay? Now, that 403.37 is the result of volumetric. So the price is based on 402.37 kilos and not the actual one, 392. This used to always confuse me when I started off. And I think you might say you're still confused, Alan, but it always confused me. I used to think the weight is the weight. No, it could volume out. It could volume out. Okay, the second example I gave you is 902 kilos, physical weight, actual weight on the weighing scales. But the dimensions, as you can see, are 302 by 174 by 102 centimeters. Now, that, if you multiply 302 by 174 by 102 centimeters and divided by 6,000, it comes out 893. So that doesn't volume out. 893 is lower than the actual weight 902. So I've given you two examples. I've given you an example where it volumes out and another example where it doesn't volume out. And also what I've done is I've given you an example of how I calculated the 402.37. And you'll see it, it's 207 by 109 by 107 divided by 6,000. Because 6,000 cubic centimeters is the equivalent of 1 kilo in weight. Okay, now if you're still with me and not totally confused, that is how you work out your freight rates for sea and for air. Remember, that is if you contact the shipping line or airline directly. They will read out those formulas to you and expect you to be able to calculate them. You can't go back to the shipping line or airline and say, weight measure, volumetric, what are you talking about? They said, well, come on, you're supposed to know these things. But where you don't have to calculate them is when you go to a freight forwarder. Because the freight forwarder contacts the shipping line and the airline. The freight forwarder makes the calculation for you and adds their profit, obviously, and then contacts you and gives you the end result. So you don't have to use your brain if you're using a freight forwarder. And for those of you out there who are thinking of becoming a freight forwarder, you've got to know that. You can't ring an airline or a shipping line and say, I'm a freight forwarder. Can you give me a freight rate? And they say volumetric, weight measure. And you say, well, what are you talking about? They say, come on, you're a freight forwarder. You should know all this stuff. So that was just a quick gallop around how sea freight and air freight rates are calculated. Just as a matter of interest, they are part of our import-export course, where we go into great detail showing you how to calculate it. And it's imperative that for those of you, and there seems to be quite a few of my viewers who want to become freight forwarders, that's part of the tools of your trade, knowing how to calculate that. So I'm going to leave you. I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Because I must admit I get confused. But I think in my case it's an age thing, you know. But anyway, the examples I gave you on screen will take away any confusion that I made, I gave to you. That is, I'm still getting requests in, which is great, to run some small videos. And I'll be doing another one in about a week's time, most likely when I get back to the UK. I will be doing another one, and it's basically, the next one I'm going to do is a bit more tricky in this sense. I'm getting quite a few requests from people. As I say, they want to become freight forwarders. And they say to me, how can I set my profit margins? How much should I charge for my air freight, my sea freight, after making those calculations we just did? So I'm going to do a small video in a couple of weeks' time on your profit margins and how much you should charge or add on. The whole thing about profit and how much you charge your clients is very subjective. There isn't a golden answer to it. I don't get on and say, this is what you do. Anyway, that's my next one. I'll be doing just talking about profit margins and on your freight if you become a freight forwarder. So that's it. That's it. I'm going to enjoy myself here in Hong Kong. I've got a few days off from work, and I'm going to go around this beautiful place and enjoy life. And see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed this. Cheers now. Bye-bye.